Many thanks for joining us, dear viewers. This is our weekly program Diplomacy. I'm looking around the mobile host and producing this program for you. Have a beautiful time with us, with our program till the end. Today I have one guest here with me. My guest today is Tibebu Assefa. Tibebu Assefa is a social entrepreneur, a born Ethiopian, now living in the United States of America. He's the chief executive of the Benefit Corporation for the Africans. Tibebu, many thanks for joining us and welcome to this program.
Thank you. Great to be here.
What are the main plan of your visit to Ethiopia in this regard?
My visit this time was a culmination of my efforts for the last 15 years. And my aim was to introduce Benefit Corporation for Africa initiative for the purpose of addressing the most pressing and urgent challenge, social, economic, environmental challenge Africa faces. And I took it from a legislation that was passed in the state in 2010. And basically, Benefit Corporation is a hybrid of a non-profit and a for-profit effort to leverage the power of business to create wealth and address the most challenging and urgent issues we face. And so I had adapted that principles for the purpose of Africa, and Ethiopia was a place where I wanted to launch it. And at the core of the initiative is the participation of the farmers who are organized collectively as a cooperative. And it was conceived and developed to provide small coffee farmers, not only they're the first prototype, but small farmers who are organized under a cooperative union. And I was inspired at a time, by the collective effort of the Oromia Coffee Farmers Cooperative Union, who've done an amazing job organizing under the International Cooperative Alliance, organizing themselves and taking the value chain collectively, cultivating, picking, processing, and selling in the global market. Small farmers, 500,000 currently. They have the largest coffee processing plant. Small farmers have organized themselves and they're running their own affairs, and they're selling in the fair trade market. And I was impressed by that collective effort, and I wanted to finish the value chain on the other side. And so the fact that it is a business driven, it's leverage the power of business, means we would give them an opportunity to collectively invest what they have, the little that they have, and own the venture on that side. So their product can be sold directly to the consumer, whereas the other commodity market has about 4 or 5 value chains. So this initiative would give them what we call a profit-sharing investment partnership with the consumer. So we built it from the scratch. Because that's the only way out. Currently, they do 90% of the work, and they only get 10% of the money we consumers pay on that side. And the end point that provides coffee to the end consumer on that side does 10% of the work and keep 90% of the money we pay. Our hardship here, the hardship the farmers face, is directly related to our active presence in the US market.
Is there any middleman between you guys and the exporter, as well as the farmers?
The value chain from this side is already taken care of. They've done an amazing job. Farmers in the village have a cooperative. They run their cooperative. It's internationally structured under the International Cooperative Alliance, democratically run. They run their business, and then the cooperatives have a union. And the union represents the farmers in the global market. So they've already taken it to the global market. So what we're doing is finishing the line, taking them directly to the consumer. So farmer, cooperative, union, my entity, and consumers on that side. So we created a new community-based value chain to provide the small, hardworking farmers in Ethiopia, beyond Ethiopia, Africa down the line, and an investment opportunity. And we came this time, finally, after working on the policy side, after galvanizing the market, after building the infrastructure, the distributed infrastructure, and finally we came here to have a signature, an investment partnership with the unions. Basically, we want to give them, we think each farmer has a capacity to invest $9 per farmer, US dollars, and we want to give, for the first phase, we want to give 500,000 small coffee farmers an investment opportunity. We want them to put $9 collectively, which is 9 times 500,000. Actually, initially 6, but now we're moving it to 9. Even at 6, that will be $3 million collectively. There's a power in collective effort. And then we're going to raise another $3 million and give them a 50% ownership of the roasting facility where we aspire to build in DC, Virginia, and Maryland market. So in a nutshell, this is the last draw, their signature. And we organized an amazing forum at the ECA called Benefit Corporation for Africa Forum. And the coffee is the first prototype, and the first partners are the farmers. So we had that signature. So that is the end of a 15 years journey.
Well, it's an amazing. You are the owner and the chief executive of the Benefit Corporation for Africa's BCA. What is the function, or the main function of the BCA?
The main function of the BCA, by the way, I'm only a co-founder. I do have my wife and a few other friends, and over 10,000 Americans have supported this effort from day one. The main purpose is to introduce a new international trade geared towards development that would provide African small farmers an investment. There is a commodity market, there's a fair trade market. We call ours virtuous exchange. Taking the fair trade model, going beyond fair, we change the word fair to virtuous. Fair is very relative, and the word trade to an exchange, because it's more than commodity. So in a nutshell, we're introducing a new international trade geared towards development that provides small, hard-working farmers an investment opportunity on that side. Coffee is the first prototype.
Well, is that of the blend coffee different from the BCA?
Well, it's the first prototype. The first prototype. So we want to showcase. So we have three things: initiative, Benefit Corporation for Africa initiative, Blessed Coffee, the first prototype, and we have U.S. Africa Diaspora Business Council that wants to leverage the success of Blessed Coffee to inspire other African entrepreneurs, follow the suit, work in partnership with other African cooperative or community-oriented producers to duplicate the model. So it's a three parallel track activity.
That's great. So, is there any partnership, or with whom you guys are currently working, or is there any partnership here in this country, in Ethiopia?
Well, the partnership is with the farmers. Actually, we're working with a federal cooperative agency that has over 90,000 cooperatives. It's a government agency that supervises and empowers and provides policy and other technical supports for the cooperative cooperatives under its umbrella, 90,000 of them, representing 28 million people. In fact, under the new administration, it's upgraded to a commission. Now it's Ethiopian Cooperative Commission. And the head of that agency is pursuing a new public-private community partnership. It used to be public-private partnership, now public-private community or cooperative partnership. So bringing them front and center. And so this is the first time we're getting an opportunity to officially launch it. And the timing is very perfect, because we have a lot of challenges as a result of the economic COVID and the impact of COVID in the global economy. It's even very, 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 it brings light to the validity and the importance of our initiative as a vehicle for alternative economic trade and economic development.
Well, regarding to the economic talk again, the United States of America is threatening Ethiopia to delist it from the African Growth and Opportunity Act, as AGOA, in which millions of Ethiopians are currently working. How do you feel about that?
Well, our ultimate goal, as far as our initiative is concerned, is to prove it with the coffee farmers in Ethiopia and provide other cooperatives to follow suit and showcase that and provide the initiative to other African countries, entrepreneurs, and bridge the efforts from the cooperatives with African diaspora entrepreneurs. So ultimately, our goal was initially, before even AGOA became an issue, was to present this model as an alternative and as an amendment. AGOA will expire in 2025, and it has to be renewed. So we're in a very strong position. If we prove this thing in the coming 5 years, we're in a very strong position to have Benefit Corporation for Africa initiative as an amendment to renew AGOA. AGOA gave a lot of promise when it initially was introduced in 2000, Basically, it was a tax-free and quota-free access to African farmers to have a competitive presence in the U.S. But the problem was the people who advocated for this legislation, they did not pay attention to the fact that the African farmers don't have a partner on their side. An African farmer cannot compete in the U.S. market without capacity, without technical know-how, investment, and partner on the ground who can finish the pace. So for the most part, we haven't used it as much as it can be used. Of course, we've sold coffee through that. So our aim was to have it incorporated because Benefit Cooperation for Africa has a potential to redefine U.S.-Africa trade from the aid-based to a trade-based. There is no one solid voice. American power is dispersed. The government is a three-branch government: executive, legislative, the Congress, and the judiciary. That's just the government part. And then there are other stakeholders. There are lobby groups, interest groups who push the U.S. government to go one way or the other. There are think tanks. There is a press. There is a public voice. There is activists. All this make ultimately what America says is the average of all the struggle of this. Whoever says, or whatever America says, is a reflection of one power pulling America from one side or on the other. So when we say America, we have to be careful. Currently, the Biden government has the upper hand because they've been lobbied strongly. So when you say when you talk about current African discourse, you have to say Biden government. It's led by the Biden government for a lot of reasons. And then, of course, the Biden government has lobbied the U.S. Congress. And the two, they check each other. This power is divided by the two. So if we are strong and we can lobby the U.S. Congress, there will be a debate. So we have to have a robust engagement to make sure the Ethiopia-U.S. relationship is beneficiary to the people of Ethiopia in the region as well as America. Ultimately, peace, development, and commerce is prosperity, is our goal. And so that's how I see it.
In the future, what should be done in reshaping this diplomatic relationship between the two? What is expected from the government of Ethiopia, as well as what is expected from you guys, the Ethiopian diaspora living there?
We all have to have a concerted, strategic, and lobbying effort from public to government to showcase Ethiopia is, a strategic country with 100 million people, and the well-being of Ethiopia is the well-being of the northern region, and then Middle East, North Africa and Horn of Africa and the Middle East. So we need to engage on all levels, people to people, Congress, government. We have to have a strategy, a long-term strategy, and I think we can easily make that case. And we have to get engaged. We can't be angry. We can't shy away. We can't point fingers. We can't accuse. We have to be very diplomatic. Currently, what I see is America is a superpower, whether we like it or not. And you can't fight with America, especially when you know America's interests and your interests are one and the same. Just because one part of the government does something currently today, the Biden government comes and goes. There's no guarantee it will be there another term. But Ethiopia, the people of Ethiopia, the country of Ethiopia, and the people of America and the country of America will exist forever. The relationship that we have with America is more than 100 years. So we have to be very strategic and smart and engage. Diplomacy, lobbying and diplomacy is an act of engagement. So we have to talk. We have to show our effort and come to terms to come up with a policy that is beneficial to all of us. So we gotta wise up. What I see today in the public discourse is accusing America. First, America is not one thing. There's no one America that says, well, America itself is, there's a dynamics. And we are also Americans, and we are a global citizen. As a global citizen, we can say this relationship is dangerous to the region and dangerous to the world. We just have to make that argument. We have to make that case. And that will take, sophisticated, patient, deliberate, strategic engagement.
What would be the role of the Ethiopian embassies and diplomats or residing in the all parts of the world in expressing the real situation of the country for the international community?
Our foreign policy, as a policy by itself, is not coherent, it's not well organized, not well taught. And then the diplomats have to have a policy and they have to be trained to implement that policy. And so I see a disconnect. There is not a well-articulated policy. I don't see any strategy, and I don't see the diplomats engaged on implementing that diplomacy. So we have to rethink. Our approach. Diplomacy is very, very, very key and crucial, and it has to be laid with a policy and a strategy and well-trained, well-seasoned diplomats to execute that strategy. And maybe it's a good time for us to rethink and take this moment to do reflections and readjust our policy and strategy and the people who are supposed to implement it. And I think there's a challenge there and there's a lot of work to do.
Well, it's now been 2 months since you came here in Ethiopia for your working visit. So what is your observation in peace and security of Ethiopia, as well as regarding the conflict or the process or the operation taking place in the northern part of Ethiopia, Tibebu?
In the last 15 years, as I come and go, the difference this time is there's so much tension and the challenge is so big. And the government is looking at this as an opportunity to look at alternative ideas. It has never been as open as it is to me. Milton Friedman, the famous free market economist, is known to say, crisis, whether it is real or perceived, is an opportunity to bring into the center good ideas normally neglected, because the status quo will be nervous and they will be creative, looking for. So that's what I see, and people are tired and sick of the many challenges we've gone through. To me, the challenge in Ethiopia is poverty. Simple. And that poverty is directly related to our economic activity in the global market. Our presence in the global market is marginalized. We sell our raw material and buy their finished good. And our cultural habits, consumption habit, is also kind of twisted against us, meaning, you go to a bar, people will have a choice to drink coffee or black label. When you make a choice, one is to say, let my people be poor, because you're sending your hard-earned money outside. Or if you buy a reke, you're growing the local industry. Mothers who make a reke will have an economic opportunity to grow. So from building materials, from clothing, we buy the deficiency between what we sell and buy is amazing. So considering all that, what I sense is there's a new force to change. There are a lot of challenges in the mix. And so it is a time for a change, and change is very uncomfortable, And I see hope, because people are very hopeful. Yeah. I see opportunity. Even crisis is a good opportunity for us to know that we need to change. And if we know our challenge is poverty, if we know that our poverty is directly related to our marginalized presence in the global market, maybe we can wise up and compete in the global market. So sad, like I worked on coffee, right? The Ethiopian diaspora in America goes to a cafe called Starbucks. We, by my calculation, spend about $100 million a year by buying, coffee from Starbucks.
Yes, without an exaggeration.
Yeah, and that is like saying, let my people be poor, instead of collecting our money and investing. So we need to be very proactive. We need to think in terms of value adding and promoting and selling our products in the global market. When we do that, we'll win. When we do that, when you go to a Starbucks and pay $2.50 for a cup of coffee, out of that, only 10 cents goes to the green coffee. 10 cents. We give the world the finest coffee. We're the birthplace of coffee. And from, if you Google and say, who are the coffee producing countries? Poor countries. Mm-hmm. If you say, who are making money from the coffee industry? It's a $100 billion market. Yeah. America, Switzerland, Italy, Germany, 3 years ago, I was invited to speak at a conference in Djibouti at a 5-star hotel. The first morning, I looked at the coffee option. It was Nestle, an African coffee that was sent to Europe, processed, packed, and sold to us. 45 minutes away from the birthplace of coffee, we're buying a product that we sold and purchasing. And the tea is a Kenyan tea that went to England, packed and came back out of the British breakfast tea. So everything is like that, from gold to coltrane. I mean, cocoa. 70% of the world cocoa is produced in West Africa. But a West African cocoa farmer cannot afford to buy a candy that comes from Switzerland. So this is what the problem is. If we're aware of the fact, even our problem can be resolved, because right now we're only lacked in the local Ethiopian space. Ethiopia doesn't live by herself. By the way, there is no country, as far as the economy is concerned, the global economy is just one. It's just money. It doesn't care what flag. We'll use the dollar as a currency. And so in that, we've lost the war. We've lost the battle. So I see the current crisis. I see hope, opportunity, problem, and competing interest. I think it's a buzzer for a new. The objective and subjective reality is really ripe to break through. So I look at this as an opportunity. But whether we use that opportunity or not still rests on our shoulder. And everybody, each and every one of us, from the Prime Minister down to the farmer, and we, the people who are in the middle, are in a position of service to the greater land, service to the people of the people who make home in this land we call Ethiopia, who deserve a better chance. We have a beautiful country, very diverse and beautiful people. We've existed for however we've existed, and we can win in the global war only if we compete. And when we do that, we will quickly learn that our lives are intertwined, and we have to respect and provide an opportunity to each and every one of us. So looking at it from the global perspective will bring some light to the challenge that we have. But in short, I think it's a time of hope, time of opportunity, and I've never seen such a willingness to, with all the problems that we have, there's a birth of a new hope, and the opportunities at hand, and each and every one of us in the position of service, and I'm trying to do mine. And thank you for the opportunity. You're doing yours,
Exactly. You are an American. The U.S. government has been involving or interfering into the Ethiopia's internal affairs. What do you feel about that?
I'm concerned, but I'm not scared, because even though I'm an American, I'm an Ethiopian. I'm an Ethiopian American. America has given me an opportunity to sit and talk like this, but I've worked hard for America. I've lived in America for the last 40 years. I've paid tax. I've paid my dues. I've served in so many, non-profit organizations. And even though it gave me an opportunity to think to be a global citizen, America has already benefited from me. Not only me, all the Africans in America have worked to make America better, actually, at the expense of, like a big balloon. When Ethiopians and Africans go to the US, they're taking away a brain drain. These are trained people. The number of physicians, doctors, engineers, and scientists who've left Ethiopia, who've left Africa, and work for America, making America better, from service industry to professionals. I mean, you go to, and there's a hospital in DC. 28% of the doctors are from Ethiopia. Mind you, in Ethiopia, the doctor to patient ratio so gap. So even though I'm an American, I'm an Ethiopian, and then at the end of the day, I'm a global citizen. And what happens, even an American, what happens here matters to me. In fact, when I talk about Ethiopia in America, I talk about Ethiopia as an American Ethiopian. So I think there's, every crisis is an opportunity. For the very first time, the Ethiopian diaspora, who has been very silent, dormant in the political scene, is now very motivated, aggressive, rising up, organizing. So that's good. We just have to be very strategic about it. And we have to use our capital there. Actually, we've paid a lot of money to the US by tax. We need to demand some of it to be spread, like many others do, And last thing I'd like to say, in the context of global politics, government has three legs, or society has three legs: social, social, economic, and political. The social and the cultural leg has to be strong, and then the economy has to be as strong as well, and then by the strength of the two, the political leg comes by default. It's just a phantom. Unless you have a very strong cultural presence, whether they're here or the US, unless you capitalize on that and compete in the global market and have a very strong economic base, the politics doesn't mean much. In fact, it doesn't exist. It's like a boxer. A boxer has to weight lift, run, jump rope, so he can have the power to punch. So unless we do what like the boxer does in the sector, in the economic and the cultural vibrancy, introducing our culture, like they made us buy their jeans, and we have to make them buy our Nutella. They make us eat hamburger. We have to have a cultural engagement that opens appetite for them to eat churro. When we do that, we can have a very strong cultural base, economic base, and then our politics can be strong. So I see it as an opportunity because we've been, kind of dormant from the global scene, isolated in our corners. And if we do that in the long term, I see hope.
Well, in general, what is expected from all, especially from Ethiopian diaspora and others, in reversing this situation and using as an opportunity?
They have to, as I said earlier, we have to have a short-term and a long-term strategy. We have to be very sophisticated in our thinking. We can't be emotional. We have to put our emotions. In fact, we have to use our emotions, our anger, as a motivator for us to be organized. So if we can be strategic about it, we can say, okay, here is the immediate challenge. This is what we can do. Here is a long-term challenge. This is what we can do. But my advice to the African and the Ethiopian diaspora is to leverage, we are 1 million. Just like I said earlier, within the context of the African diaspora, we have a $20,000 a year investment and purchasing and remittance capacity. That is 1 million times $20 billion. So what is that we're going to do to make sure we capitalize that, invest in Ethiopian cultural interest on that side, and then duplicate the model we're duplicating, and partner with the cooperatives who are working hard, take our commodity, value add, and sell it to the consumer, and give access to benefit sharing to all. So we do have the power. As I said earlier, Ethiopia gets $3 billion a year from the world. The million Ethiopian diaspora has $20 billion in its pocket. So like if in America, every time you pull your wallet, you buy something, you're casting a vote. Just like we do cast a vote to choose our prime minister once every 5 years. In America, we're casting a vote 10 times. 10 times we pull our wallet. We have to ask, where is this money going? We worked hard for it. So there's a choice. Let my people be poor. Let my people have a chance. For instance, in my survey, I went to Ethiopian grocery stores in America. I looked at the misr and the atar and the cook they sell to our community. I asked where they get it from. They buy it from India and Turkey. I asked why. Because they tell me the one that comes from Ethiopia has dingite at the ultimate term. It's not clean. So why don't we invest our money to clean our commodity, sell it in the global market, be rich, and provide our. As I said earlier, there are 90,000 cooperatives under the Federal Cooperative Agency now, Ethiopian Cooperative Commission. They have over 85 different commodities that we sell in the global market. Why don't we invest in value add and provide the sourcing part, And so the advice to the Ethiopian diaspora is to be smart, to promote our culture, our humanity, create an appetite for the Americans to partake in our experience like we've done, and then bring value add our product, provide the farmers on the bottom of the chain an opportunity to collectively invest, create wealth. If we do that immediately, we'll showcase the importance of the Ethiopian diaspora and the importance of Ethiopia for vitality in America. We win the war. Without having that kind of strong politics, without having a very strong cultural base and economics, doesn't mean much. So I think it's an opportunity for everyone, all of us, America as well as Ethiopians. I'm very excited. As an activist, as a social entrepreneur, I'm aware of the opportunity. I'm very excited because it opened an opportunity for an initiative I've been pushing for the last 15 years. For the very first time, people are saying to me, what was that thing? Because initially they didn't believe it's possible. So as an activist, I am excited about the challenge we face. And here is an opportunity for all of us.
Well, lastly, the Grand Ethiopia Renaissance Dam is still under construction and needs to be completed.
Yeah.
What do you feel about that?
I'm very, very adamantly, in fact, if there is any politics, to me, water is a human right. Light is a human right, basic. Seeing our daughters, walk 5-10 miles to fetch water, it's a criminal activity in this day and age. What the power being cut as Ethiopians' sovereignty, it's a human rights issue, and nobody can stand. Nobody can ask. That is, as I said one time at a public discourse, it's a human right. And Ethiopia has Ethiopian sovereign right to use her resources for the benefit of her people. And we've been pushed around because we're marginalized. And that is not on, I'm not a politician, but when it comes to that, all hands are off, and it's hope. Ethiopia has been denied her right from capitalizing her natural resources, and we have to come strong. We have to put everything that we have to make sure this thing is finished, and the people of Ethiopia are harvesting God-given natural resources to better the life of the people. Nobody can stand on the way of that because it's against human rights. It's a human rights issue, and I'm very strong about that.
Well, Mr. Assefa, I really appreciate your thoughts and positive ideas. Lastly, if you have a general message for the people and government of Ethiopia, you are welcome to Alexander.
Well, thank you so very much. And again, I really express my gratitude to OBN. This is the second time we're having, the first time when I was in the US. And I thank OBN for helping me disseminate my little thought about this massive issue. So I would say thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Dear viewers, this will bring us to the end of this edition. I'm Mobile hosting and producing this program for you till the next edition. Have a beautiful time.